The key turned in the lock with a soft click, and I pushed open the door to my apartment, balancing grocery bags in both arms. I had left work early with a headache, stopped by the store, and now just wanted to lie down. The aspirin I'd taken at the office hadn't helped much. Voices drifted from the living room. Brandon's deep rumble and his mother Patricia's sharp tone. They weren't expecting me home for another 3 hours. I set the bags down quietly in the entryway, something in their conversation making me pause. "She's too attached to this place," Patricia was saying. "You need to be firmer about getting your name on the deed, Brandon. This is your family's apartment. Your grandfather lived in this neighborhood. You have every right to it." My blood went cold. My family's apartment? I stood frozen, barely breathing. "I've been trying, Mom," Brandon replied. "But she keeps saying we don't need to worry about that yet. Says we're married, so it doesn't matter whose name is on what." Patricia snorted. "That naive girl. All the better for you. Once she has a baby, she'll be too tired and distracted to think about these things. That's when you push the paperwork through. Tell her it's for tax purposes or some nonsense. She'll sign anything if you catch her at the right moment." I pressed my hand against the wall, my legs suddenly weak. They thought this was Brandon's apartment. They had no idea that I owned this place, that I'd bought it 3 years before I even met him. "What if she questions it?" Brandon asked. "Then you remind her that you're the man of the house. That you're thinking about your future children's security. Women like her, they want to please their husbands. She'll go along with it." "And then?" Patricia's voice dropped lower, but I could still hear every word. "Then, eventually, we can suggest she'd be more comfortable in a smaller place. Somewhere more suitable for a young mother. You keep this apartment. It's in a prime location. Do you know what places like this are worth now? Your father and I could even move in, help with the baby. She'd probably be grateful." Brandon laughed. "You've thought this through." "Of course I have. I didn't raise a fool. That girl comes from nothing, Brandon. She should be thankful you married her at all. Now she gets to live in a nice neighborhood, has a husband with a good job. She won't fight you on this. And if she does, well, that's what divorce lawyers are for. But with a baby, she won't want the drama. She'll take whatever settlement you offer and move on." The room spun. I grabbed the doorframe, trying to process what I was hearing. This was my husband. The man I'd married 6 months ago. The man who'd promised to love and cherish me. And his mother, who'd smiled at our wedding and welcomed me to the family. All lies. I thought about our courtship, how Brandon had been so charming, so attentive. How he'd proposed after only 8 months of dating. How Patricia had thrown us an engagement party and helped plan the wedding. How they'd both praised the apartment when Brandon moved in after the wedding, talking about what a perfect home it would be for their future grandchildren. Not once had I mentioned that I owned it. The subject had simply never come up. Brandon had assumed it was a rental, or maybe that my parents helped me with it. I'd never corrected him because it hadn't seemed important. We were getting married. What was mine would be ours, or so I'd thought. But I'd been careful in other ways. My lawyer friend Trevor had insisted I sign a prenuptial agreement, protecting my assets. Brandon had signed it without much fuss, probably because he'd thought I had nothing worth protecting. The apartment was in my name only. My savings account, my investment portfolio, all separate. Thank God I'd listened to Trevor. "When are you going to start pushing the baby talk?" Patricia continued. "You've been married 6 months. People will start asking questions soon." "I've been bringing it up," Brandon said. "She says she wants to wait another year. Focus on her career first." "Her career?" Patricia's voice dripped with disdain. "She's a project manager. It's not like she's a doctor or a lawyer. She can do that job with a baby. You need to be more insistent." I'd heard enough. My headache was gone, replaced by a crystal-clear fury that made my hands shake. I picked up the grocery bags and walked loudly down the hall, making sure they heard me coming. "I'm home," I called out, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. I found them in the living room, sitting on my cream-colored couch, drinking from my coffee mugs. Patricia looked up with that fake smile she always wore, the one that had fooled me for so long. "Simone, darling. You're home early." "Headache," I said, setting the bags on the kitchen counter. "I brought groceries. Brandon, can you help me put them away?" He jumped up, playing the dutiful husband. "Of course, babe." I watched him cross the room, this stranger wearing my husband's face. He was tall, athletic, with dark brown skin and an easy smile that had first attracted me. Now that smile made my stomach turn. "How was your day, Mom?" he asked Patricia as he reached for a bag. "Lovely. I was just telling Simone how lucky she is to have such a wonderful home." I met her eyes. She was a handsome woman in her late 50s, always impeccably dressed. Today she wore a navy blue pantsuit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her hair was styled in a short, elegant cut, and her makeup was perfect. "I am lucky," I said carefully. "Very lucky." I helped Brandon put away the groceries, making small talk, playing the role of the loving wife. Patricia stayed for another hour, drinking tea and talking about her book club and her friends. I smiled and nodded and said all the right things. When she finally left, Brandon kissed my forehead. "I'm glad you're home early. I missed you." I looked up at him, at this man I'd thought I knew. "Did you?" "Of course." He pulled me close. "You're my wife. I always miss you when we're apart." The words that would have made me melt yesterday now felt like sandpaper against my skin. I stepped back gently. "I need to lie down. My headache is getting worse." "Want me to bring you anything?" "No, I just need rest." I went to the bedroom, our bedroom, and closed the door. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and let myself feel it. The betrayal, the anger, the hurt. But underneath it all, a cold, calculating part of my brain was already working. They thought they could manipulate me. They thought I was naive and easy to control. They thought this apartment was theirs for the taking. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I pulled out my phone and texted Trevor, "Need to talk. Important." His response came immediately, "Tomorrow morning? Coffee shop on 5th. Yes. I also texted Nicole, my best friend since college. "Are you free this weekend? Need girl time." "Always." "What's wrong?" "Tell you in person." I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. 6 months of marriage. 6 months of lies. How long had they been planning this? Had Brandon targeted me because of the apartment? Had someone told him I lived here and he'd engineered our meeting? I thought back to how we'd met. At a friend's barbecue. He'd been charming, funny, attentive. We'd talked for hours. He'd asked for my number. Our first date had been perfect. Had it all been a setup? My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon, ordering Thai food for dinner. "Your usual?" I texted back, "Perfect. Thanks." I could play this game too. I could smile and pretend and plan. Because now I knew the truth. Now I knew exactly what kind of people I was dealing with. And I had something they didn't know about. I had the truth. I had the deed to this apartment. I had a prenuptial agreement they dismissed as meaningless. And I had time. They wanted to manipulate me? Fine. Let them try. Let them think they were succeeding. Meanwhile, I would be preparing. I would be gathering evidence. I would be building my case. And when the time was right, I would take back everything they thought they could steal from me. I closed my eyes, my headache truly gone now, replaced by a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. This marriage was over. I knew that. But it would end on my terms, not theirs. They had made a critical mistake. They had underestimated me. And that mistake would cost them everything. The next morning, I woke before Brandon, slipping out of bed at 6 a.m. He stirred but didn't wake. I showered, dressed in a bright red blouse and black slacks, and made coffee. By the time he emerged from the bedroom, I had breakfast ready, playing the role of the perfect wife. "You're up early," he said, kissing my cheek. "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd get a jump on the day." He sat down at the table and I served him eggs and toast. "You're amazing, you know that?" I smiled. "Just taking care of my husband." The words tasted bitter, but I kept my expression pleasant. He ate quickly, checking his phone between bites. I watched him, really watched him, seeing things I'd overlooked before. The way his eyes never quite met mine when he said he loved me. The way he checked his phone constantly, angling it away from me. The way he always had an excuse for working late or going out with the guys. "Big day today?" I asked. "The usual. Might be late tonight. We have a project deadline." "On a Friday?" He shrugged. "You know how it is." I knew exactly how it was. I also knew his company rarely required overtime, especially on Fridays. I checked their website last night, scrolling through recent news and updates. No major projects. No pressing deadlines. "Well, don't work too hard," I said. After he left, I cleaned the kitchen, then grabbed my purse and headed to the coffee shop on 5th Avenue. Trevor was already there, sitting in a corner booth with 2 large coffees in front of him. Trevor was my cousin on my mother's side, 3 years older than me and one of the smartest people I knew. He'd gone to law school on a full scholarship and now worked at a prestigious firm downtown. He'd always looked out for me even when we were kids. "Simone," he said, standing to hug me. "You sounded stressed. What's going on?" I sat down and took a sip of coffee. Then I told him everything. The conversation I'd overheard. Patricia and Brandon's plans. The lies about the apartment. Trevor's jaw tightened as I spoke. When I finished, he sat back and exhaled slowly. Those conniving. He stopped himself. Okay, first things first. The prenup is solid. I made sure of that. Your apartment, your savings, your investments, all protected. He can't touch any of it. What if he tries? He can try all he wants. The prenup is ironclad. You own the apartment before marriage. It's separate property. Same with your investment accounts. The only thing that would be split is anything you've acquired together since the wedding, which from what you've told me is minimal. I nodded. So I'm protected. Legally, yes. But Simone, this is more than just property. This is your marriage. Are you sure you want to end it? After what I heard. Yes, I'm sure. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Then we'll do this right. You need to document everything. Every conversation, every text message, every time he lies about working late. If there's an affair, we need proof. How do I get proof? Carefully. You can't break any laws. No hacking his phone or computer. But you can pay attention. You can follow up on his stories. You can hire a private investigator if needed. A private investigator? It's not as dramatic as it sounds. They're professionals. They document behavior, take photos, track movements. All legally. If Brandon is having an affair, they'll find out. I thought about it. A week ago, the idea would have seemed crazy. Now it felt necessary. Okay, find me someone. I know a guy. Discreet, professional. I'll set it up. We talked for another hour, going over my options, discussing strategy. Trevor made notes, asked questions, helped me think through every angle. When I left, I felt stronger, more prepared. That weekend, Nicole came over. Brandon was out, allegedly playing basketball with friends. Nicole took one look at me and pulled me into a hug. Okay, spill. What's happening? I told her everything. Nicole listened, her expression growing darker with each word. I never liked him, she said when I finished. I tried to like him for your sake, but something always felt off. And his mother? That woman gave me chills. You never said anything. You seemed happy. I thought maybe I was wrong. She shook her head. I should have trusted my gut. It's not your fault. So what are you going to do? I'm gathering evidence. Then I'm filing for divorce and kicking him out. Nicole grinned. Good. You deserve so much better than that lying snake. We spent the afternoon going through my finances, making lists, organizing documents. Nicole helped me pack my important papers, my grandmother's jewelry, things I wanted to keep safe. We stored them at her apartment just in case. That night, Brandon came home late, smelling of beer and something else. Perfume. Sweet and floral, nothing like what I wore. Have fun. I asked from the couch. Yeah, the guys were in good form tonight. He kissed the top of my head. I'm going to shower and head to bed. You coming? In a bit. I want to finish this show. He disappeared into the bathroom and I listened to the water run. I thought about confronting him right then, throwing the perfume smell in his face. But I held back. Not yet. Not until I had everything I needed. The next week crawled by. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner, played the loving wife. But every moment I was watching, listening, documenting. Brandon claimed he was working late on Tuesday. I drove by his office at 8 p.m. His car wasn't there. I called his cell. He answered on the third ring, sounding breathless. Hey babe, what's up? Just checking in. You sound out of breath. Oh yeah, I just ran to grab some files from the printer. This project is intense. Want me to bring you dinner? Pause. No, that's okay. I grabbed something earlier. I should be done in an hour or so. Okay. Love you. Love you too. I hung up and sat in my car outside his empty office building. Love you. The words meant nothing. They were just sounds, empty and hollow. I drove home and added another note to my growing file. Tuesday, 8:15 p.m. Brandon claimed to be at office. Office empty. Lied about location. On Thursday, I came home to find Patricia in my kitchen, rearranging my cabinets. Patricia, what are you doing here? She looked up, not even slightly embarrassed. Brandon gave me a key. I thought I'd help organize your kitchen. It's so cluttered. My kitchen. My cabinets. My home that she was rearranging like she owned it. That's very kind, I said, my voice tight. But I have a system. Oh, this is much better. You'll see. I've put all the dishes at eye level, pots and pans down low. Much more practical. I watched her move my grandmother's china, her hands all over my things, and I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled. Thank you. I appreciate the help. Of course, dear. We're family now. What's yours is ours. What's yours is ours. The words hung in the air between us. I need to change, I said. I'll be back in a moment. I went to the bedroom and closed the door, then pulled out my phone and texted Trevor. She has a key. She's rearranging my apartment like she owns it. Document it. Take photos. This shows their mindset. I took photos of Patricia in my kitchen, her hands in my cabinets, her possessions scattered on my counters. More evidence. When I came back out, she was making tea. I hope you don't mind. I thought we could have a little chat. Of course. We sat at the kitchen table, my kitchen table, and she poured tea into my mugs. Simone, I wanted to talk to you about your future. Brandon's future. Our future, I corrected gently. She waved a hand. Yes, of course. I've been thinking about grandchildren. You're not getting any younger, dear. 29 is a good age to start a family. I was 31, but I didn't correct her. Brandon and I have discussed it, I said. We want to wait a bit longer. Her smile tightened. Waiting too long can be risky. Fertility declines, you know. And Brandon wants children. He's always wanted to be a father. We have time. Do you? You have a demanding job. Children require attention. You might find it difficult to balance both. Many women do. Yes, but many women also have help. Family support. If you had a baby, I'd be happy to move in for a while. Help with childcare. This apartment is certainly big enough. There it was. The plan laid out so sweetly, so innocently. That's very generous, I said. But we're fine for now. Her expression hardened slightly. You know, Simone, marriage is about compromise. About putting your husband's needs first. Brandon wants a family. You should consider his happiness. I met her eyes. I am. Just as I'm sure he considers mine. The look she gave me was cold, assessing. For a moment, the mask slipped and I saw the calculation underneath. Of course, she said finally. Well, I should go. Think about what I said. After she left, I sat in my kitchen, surrounded by my rearranged cabinets, and felt the anger build. They were circling, getting bolder. They thought they had me trapped. They had no idea the trap was closing around them. The private investigator's name was Jerome. He was a short, unassuming man in his 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. We met at a diner across town, far from anywhere Brandon or Patricia might see us. Trevor filled me in on the basics, Jerome said, pulling out a notebook. Your husband is potentially having an affair, and you need documentation for divorce proceedings. Yes. Okay. I'll need his daily routine, work schedule, any regular activities. Places he goes, people he sees. The more information you give me, the better I can track him. I spent an hour going over Brandon's schedule, his habits, his friends. Jerome took notes, asked clarifying questions, and never once judged or pried beyond what was necessary. I'll start surveillance tomorrow, he said. I'll send you daily reports. Photos, timestamps, locations. Everything documented and legally obtained. How long does this usually take? Depends. If he's having an affair and being careless, a week or two. If he's careful, might take longer. But in my experience, people having affairs get comfortable. They make mistakes. I thanked him and left, feeling both relieved and sick. This was really happening. I was hiring someone to follow my husband, to catch him cheating. But I needed the truth. I needed evidence. At work, I threw myself into projects, trying to distract myself. My colleague Hannah noticed I was quieter than usual. You okay? You seem stressed. Just a lot on my mind. Anything I can help with? I almost told her. Hannah was sweet, trustworthy. But I held back. The fewer people who knew, the better. Just family stuff. I'll be fine. That evening, Brandon came home with flowers. Red roses, a dozen of them wrapped in cellophane. For you, he said, presenting them with a flourish. What's the occasion? Do I need an occasion to buy my wife flowers? Yes, I thought. You do. Because you never buy me flowers without a reason. They're beautiful. Thank you. I put them in a vase, wondering what he was feeling guilty about. Or what he wanted. At dinner, he was chatty, telling stories about work, asking about my day. Playing the attentive husband. I played along, asking questions, laughing at his jokes. My mom mentioned she stopped by yesterday, he said casually. Yes, she reorganized the kitchen. He grinned. She loves to organize. Hope that's okay. Of course. She also mentioned you two talked about kids. I set down my fork. We did. And I told her what I told you. We're waiting. His smile faltered. Right. But maybe we should talk about that timeline. I mean, we've been married 6 months. We could start trying soon. I'm not ready. When will you be ready? I don't know, Brandon. Having a baby is a big decision. I know, but I'm ready. I want to start our family. I looked at him across the table, this man who was lying to me, who was planning to steal my home, who was likely cheating on me. Give me another year, I said. A year? Yes, one more year. Then we can revisit the conversation. He didn't look happy, but he nodded. Okay, 1 year. I knew we wouldn't make it a year. We wouldn't make it another month. But he didn't need to know that. Jerome's first report came 3 days later. An email with attachments. Photos of Brandon leaving work at 5 p.m., driving to a restaurant downtown, meeting a woman. The woman was beautiful. Younger than me, maybe 25 or 26. Long dark hair, curvy figure, bright smile. She wore a green dress that hugged her body, and when Brandon greeted her, he kissed her. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss. I stared at the photo, feeling numb. Part of me had hoped I was wrong. That maybe Brandon was just weak, not malicious. But here was the proof. The report included more photos. Brandon and the woman having dinner, laughing, holding hands across the table. Brandon walking her to her car, kissing her again, his hands on her waist. Jerome had included the woman's license plate number and a note. Subject identified as Amber Collins, 26, works at the same company as your husband. Marketing department. A coworker. He was having an affair with a coworker. I forwarded the email to Trevor, then saved it to 3 different cloud accounts. Evidence secured. The next report came 2 days later. More photos. Brandon and Amber meeting for lunch. Brandon and Amber leaving work together, going to her apartment. Each photo was a nail in the coffin of our marriage. I kept playing my role. Sweet wife, happy homemaker. I cooked dinners, did laundry, smiled when he came home late. I didn't let on that I knew anything. But inside I was building my case. I made copies of our bank statements, highlighting charges I didn't recognize. Expensive dinners I hadn't attended. Hotel rooms. Jewelry I'd never received. He'd been careful but not careful enough. I gathered our marriage certificate, the prenup, the deed to my apartment. I made copies of everything, storing originals in Nicole's safe and keeping copies with Trevor. I changed my passwords on all my accounts. I opened a new bank account at a different bank, transferring half of my savings. I updated my will, removing Brandon as beneficiary. Every day I prepared. Every day I got stronger. Patricia called one afternoon inviting me to lunch. Just us girls, she said. I thought we could bond. I agreed, curious about what she wanted. We met at an upscale bistro in her neighborhood. She ordered a salad and mineral water, watching her figure. I ordered pasta and lemonade. How are things with you and Brandon? She asked. Good. Really good. Have you thought more about what we discussed? About children? We're still planning to wait. She frowned. Simone, I'm going to be honest with you. Brandon is my only son. I want grandchildren. And you're not getting any younger. I'm 31, Patricia. I have time. Do you? Do you really? Women today, they wait and wait, focusing on careers, and then suddenly they're 40 and it's too late. Is that what you want? I set down my fork. What I want is to make this decision with my husband in our own time. Your husband wants children now. Then he can tell me that himself. Her eyes narrowed. You're being selfish. I'm being practical. You know, Brandon could have married anyone. He chose you. You should be grateful. I almost laughed. Grateful. For a lying, cheating husband who was plotting to steal my home. I am grateful, I said evenly. For many things. She studied me, and I could see her trying to figure out if I was being sincere or sarcastic. I kept my face neutral. Well, she said finally, I hope you'll reconsider. Family is important. More important than any career. I smiled. I'll keep that in mind. We finished lunch with strained small talk. When we parted ways, Patricia kissed my cheek and I felt nothing but cold disgust. That night, Brandon came home late again. He claimed traffic. Jerome's report showed him leaving Amber's apartment at 10 p.m. How was your day? He asked, loosening his tie. Good. I had lunch with your mother. Oh yeah? How was that? Interesting. She really wants grandchildren. He laughed. She's been on that kick for years. Don't let her pressure you. I won't. He changed and climbed into bed beside me. Love you, babe. Love you too. The lies came so easily now. To both of us. I lay in the dark, listening to his breathing even out as he fell asleep. Soon I thought. Soon this would all be over. I had the evidence. I had the documentation. I had my team in place. Now I just needed the perfect moment to strike. Sunday dinner at Patricia's house was a command performance. Brandon insisted we go every week, spending hours at his mother's elaborate table while she served overcooked roast and undercooked vegetables, all while criticizing everything from my clothes to my career. This Sunday was no different. I wore a bright blue dress, simple and elegant. Patricia looked at it and sniffed. "That color washes you out, dear. You should wear warmer tones." "I like blue," I said mildly. Brandon's father, Gerald, was a quiet man who mostly nodded along with whatever Patricia said. He worked in insurance and spent most dinners talking about golf and market trends. Today he barely looked up from his plate. "Brandon tells me you're still being stubborn about children," Patricia said, passing the potatoes. "We've discussed our timeline," I replied. "A woman's timeline is dictated by biology, not career ambitions." Brandon shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, we've talked about this. I'm simply pointing out facts. Simone, dear, you have a lovely apartment. Perfect for a young family. It would be a shame to waste it." "My apartment." There it was again. "How do you know my apartment is lovely?" I asked. "You've only been there a few times." "Oh, Brandon describes it beautifully. He says it has wonderful light, 2 bedrooms, a lovely kitchen. Perfect for children." I looked at Brandon. He was focused intently on his food. "Brandon's grandfather used to live in that neighborhood," Patricia continued. "Back in the 60s. Such a wonderful area. Good schools, safe streets. Perfect place to raise a family." "Is that so?" I asked. "Oh yes. Brandon has deep roots in that community. That's why the apartment is so special to him." I took a sip of water, letting the implication hang in the air. Deep roots. The apartment special to him. All carefully constructed lies to build a narrative where I was the outsider, the temporary resident in his family's domain. "Actually," I said carefully, "I've lived in that apartment for 5 years. I bought it when I was 26. It's the first place I ever owned." Patricia's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "You bought it?" "Yes. I saved for years, got a good mortgage rate, and purchased it outright. But I thought..." She looked at Brandon. He cleared his throat. "That's great, honey. I didn't realize you'd owned it that long." The lie was smooth practiced, but I saw the flash of panic in his eyes. "I'm surprised you never asked," I said. "Most couples discuss these things before marriage." "We discussed what mattered," he said. "Real estate ownership doesn't matter?" Patricia jumped in. "Of course it matters. Which is why you should have Brandon's name on the deed. You're married now. Everything should be joint. The prenup specifies that property owned before marriage remains separate," I said. The table went silent. Gerald looked up from his plate for the first time all evening. "Prenup?" Patricia's voice was icy. "You made him sign a prenup?" "My lawyer recommended it." Brandon agreed. "Because he trusted you," she snapped. "He thought you had nothing to hide." I met her eyes. "I don't have anything to hide. The prenup protects both of us. It protects you. It makes my son look like he married you for money. If he didn't marry me for money, then the prenup shouldn't bother him." Brandon put his hand on mine. "Babe, can we talk about this later?" I pulled my hand away gently. "Of course." The rest of the dinner was tense. Patricia made pointed comments about trust and partnership. Gerald tried to change the subject to golf. Brandon ate quickly, clearly wanting to leave. In the car on the way home he was quiet. "That was awkward," I said. "You didn't need to bring up the prenup. Your mother brought up the apartment. I was just being honest. She's sensitive about financial stuff. She wants me to put your name on my property. I'd say that's more than sensitive." He sighed. "Can we not fight about this?" "I'm not fighting. I'm just pointing out facts." We drove in silence. When we got home he went straight to the bedroom. I stayed in the living room pulling out my laptop. I had work to do. Over the next week I dug deeper into our finances. I found more irregularities. Charges to restaurants I'd never been to. Hotels in the city, when Brandon claimed to be working late at the office. Purchases from jewelry stores when I'd received no jewelry. I made spreadsheets. I highlighted patterns. I built a timeline of his affair. Jerome's reports kept coming. Amber and Brandon met 3 times a week, sometimes more. They had lunch dates, dinner dates, coffee dates. They went to her apartment, stayed for hours. In one report, Jerome noted that Amber wore a new necklace. A delicate gold chain with a sapphire pendant. I cross-referenced it with Brandon's credit card statements. Purchased 2 weeks ago. $400. I'd never seen that necklace. I added it to my evidence file. At work, I started asking casual questions about Brandon's company. My friend Hannah's husband worked there in a different department. Does Jerry ever mention Brandon? I asked over coffee. Your husband? No, why? Just curious. Brandon's been working so much overtime. I wondered if Jerry's department was busy too. Jerry? He's been home every night by 6 for the past month. Says things are quiet. Maybe it's just Brandon's team. Maybe. Though Jerry did mention something about a couple in marketing who are always sneaking off together. Office romance apparently. Very hush-hush. My hands tightened on my coffee cup. Really? Yeah. Jerry thinks it's tacky having an affair at work. He says the guy is married too. Can you imagine? I could imagine perfectly. That's awful, I said. Right? I told Jerry if I ever caught him doing something like that, I'd take him for everything he's worth. I smiled. Good for you. That evening I did more research on Amber. Social media told me she was single, loved yoga and brunch, and posted lots of selfies. She was pretty in a conventional way, with perfect makeup and carefully curated photos. She had no idea I existed. Or maybe she did and didn't care. I found her LinkedIn profile. She'd been working at Brandon's company for 8 months. She started 2 months before our wedding. Had he met her before we got married? Had he been planning this all along? The questions circled in my mind, but the answers didn't really matter. What mattered was what I did next. I called Trevor. I need to file for divorce. You're sure? Completely sure. Okay. I'll draw up the papers. Given the prenup, this should be straightforward. He gets nothing from your premarital assets. You split any joint assets acquired during the marriage, which I'm guessing is minimal. Very minimal. We have a joint checking account with maybe $3,000. Everything else is separate. Easy then. What about the apartment? I'm giving him 30 days to move out. That's generous. Legally, you could give him less. I want to do this right. No room for him to claim I was unfair. Smart. I'll include the eviction notice with the divorce papers. What about his mother? Does she have a key? Yes. Change your locks the day you serve him. Before he has a chance to give anyone access. Already arranged. Trevor was quiet for a moment. You've really thought this through. I've had time to think. Good. Then let's do this. We spent the next hour going over details. Filing procedures. Timelines. What to expect. When I hung up, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. This was really happening. I was taking back my life. I looked around my apartment, this beautiful space I'd worked so hard to afford. Soon it would be truly mine again. No more Brandon leaving his shoes by the door. No more Patricia rearranging my cabinets. Just me, my home, and my future. I could hardly wait. Nicole came over on Saturday with wine and sympathy. We sat on the couch, surrounded by the evidence I'd collected, and she shook her head in disbelief. I can't believe he actually thought he'd get away with this. He probably still thinks he will. He thinks I'm naive. You? Naive? Nicole laughed. You're the most organized person I know. You've been planning your future since we were 18. That's why I bought this place. That's why I had a prenup. That's why I kept my finances separate. Thank God you did. She picked up one of Jerome's reports, studying the photos of Brandon and Amber. She's pretty, I'll give him that. But she's got nothing on you. This isn't about looks. I know. But still. He's an idiot. We drank wine and went through the timeline. Nicole helped me organize everything into folders, labeled and dated. She was a paralegal, so she knew how to structure evidence for maximum impact. This is solid, she said. Any judge would rule in your favor. That's the plan. What about his mother? She's going to lose her mind when you serve him. Let her. She has no legal standing. This is between me and Brandon. She might try to cause problems. Then I'll deal with it. But she can't stop this divorce, and she can't stop me from evicting him from my property. Nicole grinned. I love seeing you like this. Strong. Confident. Taking charge. I should have done it sooner. You did it when you were ready. That's what matters. We talked late into the night, planning the next steps. Nicole offered to be there when I served the papers for moral support. I accepted gratefully. The following week, Trevor filed the divorce papers. I got copies of everything stored safely in multiple locations. The locksmith was scheduled for the day I planned to serve Brandon. I also made another decision. I was going to tell my family. Not all the details, but enough. They deserved to know what was happening. I called my mother first. She lived 3 states away with my stepfather, but we talked every Sunday. Simone, honey. How are you? I'm okay, Mom. But I need to tell you something. I heard her shift the phone, her voice becoming more focused. What's wrong? I'm divorcing Brandon. Silence. Then, oh sweetheart. What happened? I gave her the abbreviated version. His affair. Patricia's manipulation. Their plan to take my apartment. My mother listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sighed. I never trusted that woman. His mother. She had mean eyes. You never said anything. You seemed happy. I thought maybe I was being overprotective. You weren't wrong. Are you okay? Really okay? I am. I'm angry, but I'm okay. I have a plan. Good. You always were smart. You take after your grandmother that way. My grandmother. The woman who taught me to save money, to plan for the future, to never depend on anyone else for security. She died 2 years ago, leaving me a small inheritance that I'd put toward the apartment. I wish Grandma was here, I said. She is honey. In spirit. And she'd be proud of you for standing up for yourself. We talked for another hour. My mother offered to visit, to help, to do whatever I needed. I told her I'd let her know after the divorce was filed. When we hung up, I felt better. Supported. Well, I also called my brother, Thomas. He was older by 5 years, married with 2 kids, living in the suburbs. He was protective, always had been. You're divorcing him? Thomas's voice was tight. What did he do? I told him. He cursed colorfully. I'll kill him. No, you won't. You'll let the legal system handle it. Simone, he cheated on you. He tried to steal your home. I know. And I'm handling it. How can you be so calm? Because being angry won't help. Being smart will. Thomas was quiet for a moment. You need anything? Money? A place to stay? I'm staying in my apartment. He's the one leaving. Good. And if he gives you any trouble, you call me. I will. Having my family's support made everything feel more real. More manageable. I wasn't alone in this. At work, I confided in my boss, Margaret. She was in her 50s, divorced herself, and had always been supportive of my career. I need to let you know that I'm going through a divorce, I said, closing her office door. It might affect my schedule over the next few weeks. Margaret set down her pen. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you okay? I'm fine. It's the right decision. But there will be legal proceedings and I might need some flexibility. Of course. Take whatever time you need. Your work has been excellent. We'll manage. Thank you. And Simone? Don't let this slow you down. You're up for promotion to senior project manager. This divorce doesn't change that. I felt tears prick my eyes. I appreciate that. You're strong. You'll get through this. Everyone kept telling me I was strong. And I was starting to believe it. The night before I planned to serve Brandon, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, going over everything one more time. The divorce papers were ready. The locksmith was scheduled. Trevor would be on standby. Nicole would be there for support. I had thought of everything. Planned for every contingency. But still my heart raced. This was it. Tomorrow I would blow up my marriage. Tomorrow everything would change. I got up and walked through the apartment. My apartment. I touched the walls, the furniture, the little things that made it home. The photos I'd hung, the plants I'd nurtured, the books I'd collected. This was mine. I'd earned it. I protected it. And I was keeping it. Brandon thought he could manipulate me. Patricia thought she could control me. They both thought I was weak, easy to manage. Tomorrow they'd learn the truth. I went back to bed and finally fell asleep, dreaming of freedom. Friday evening. Brandon came home at 6, earlier than usual. He was in a good mood, whistling as he hung up his coat. Hey babe, what's for dinner? I was sitting on the couch in a green blouse and jeans, the divorce papers in a folder on the coffee table. Nicole was in the bedroom, ready to come out if I needed her. Trevor was on speed dial. Brandon, we need to talk. He looked at me, his smile fading. That sounds serious. It is. Sit down. He sat in the armchair across from me, confusion on his face. What's going on? I picked up the folder and handed it to him. I'm filing for divorce. He stared at the folder like it might bite him. What? Open it. His hands shook slightly as he pulled out the papers. He read the first page, then looked up at me. This is a joke, right? No joke. Simone, why? What did I do? I almost laughed at the innocent act. You really want to do this? You want to pretend you don't know? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Jerome's photos. I turned the screen toward him. This is why. He looked at the photo of him kissing Amber. His face went white. That's not. I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you've been having an affair for months? Why you've been lying about working late? Why you've spent our money on another woman? It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. You're cheating on me with Amber Collins, a woman you work with, and you've been doing it since before our wedding. How did you? He stopped, realizing he was admitting it. How did I find out? I hired a private investigator. I have dozens of photos, time-stamped and documented. I have credit card statements showing your purchases for her. I have everything. He set down the papers, his hands still shaking. Simone, please, let me explain. It was a mistake. It meant nothing. A months-long affair means nothing? She means nothing. You're my wife. I love you. You love me? You love me so much you've been sleeping with another woman? You love me so much you and your mother have been planning to steal my apartment. That stopped him cold. What? I heard you. Both of you. I came home early one day and heard you talking about how to get my name off the deed. How to manipulate me into signing over my property. How to push me out once I had a baby. The color drained from his face completely. You heard that? Every word. Your grandfather lived in this neighborhood. Deep roots. Perfect for children. All lies to make me think this was your family's apartment when it was mine all along. He stood up, pacing. That was just... Mom was just talking. We weren't really going to... Weren't really going to what? Steal my home? Make me homeless? That was the plan, Brandon. Yours and hers. No. God, no. I would never. You already did. You married me under false pretenses. You've been lying from day one. He turned to me and I saw tears in his eyes. Please, don't do this. We can work this out. I'll end things with Amber. I'll tell Mom to back off. We can go to counseling. I don't want counseling. I want a divorce. Simone, please. I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you. You love my apartment. You love the idea of having a wife who'll give you children and then disappear when it's convenient. You don't love me. That's not true. It is true. And I'm done. The papers are filed. You have 30 days to move out. He stared at me. Move out? This is my home. No, this is my home. I own it. My name is on the deed. And you're leaving. You can't kick me out. I'm your husband. Read the prenup. The one you signed. Property owned before marriage remains separate. This apartment is mine. You have no legal claim to it. I'll fight you on this. Go ahead. You'll lose. I have a prenup. I have proof of your affair. I have documentation of your and your mother's scheme. You have nothing. Nicole chose that moment to come out of the bedroom. Brandon jumped. Nicole? What are you doing here? Supporting my friend, she said calmly. Making sure she's safe. Safe? From me? I would never hurt her. You've been hurting her for months, Nicole said. You just didn't think she'd notice. Brandon looked between us, realization dawning. You planned this. You've been planning this. I've been protecting myself, I said. Something you forced me to do. He sank back into the chair. What about my stuff? You can pack it tomorrow. The locks are being changed tonight. Tonight? Yes. I'm not taking chances. This is insane. You're overreacting. I'm reacting appropriately to betrayal. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment he understood he'd lost. That there was no talking his way out of this. No charm, no manipulation, no lies that would work. Fine, he said quietly. Fine. I'll get my stuff tomorrow. Good. Nicole will be here to supervise. You don't trust me in my own home? It's not your home. And no, I don't trust you. He stood up, grabbed his coat. I'll stay at a hotel tonight. Good idea. He walked to the door, then turned back. My mother is going to hear about this. I'm sure she will. And she can't do anything about it either. He left, slamming the door behind him. Nicole exhaled. That went better than I expected. He didn't fight much. Because he knows he's caught. He knows you have proof. I looked at the closed door. He'll call Patricia. Let him. What can she do? The answer came an hour later. Pounding on the door. Patricia's voice, shrill and angry. Simone. Open this door right now. I looked at Nicole. She nodded. I opened the door. Patricia stood there in a maroon coat, her face flushed with anger. How dare you, she hissed. Good evening, Patricia. Don't you good evening me? Brandon just called. You're divorcing him? Kicking him out? Yes. You can't do that. He's your husband. He's my soon-to-be ex-husband. And he's leaving my apartment. Your apartment? This is Brandon's home. No, this is my apartment. I own it. I bought it years before I met your son. And he's moving out. She pushed past me into the living room. Nicole stepped forward, but I waved her back. You're making a huge mistake, Patricia said. Brandon loves you. He made one little mistake and you're throwing away your marriage. One little mistake? He's been having an affair for months. Men stray. It happens. You forgive and move on. No, I don't. You're being a fool. Where will you find another husband? You're not getting any younger. And with a divorce on your record, no decent man will want you. I smiled. Then I guess I'll have to be indecent. Her eyes narrowed. You think you're so smart. But you'll regret this. Brandon will make sure you regret this. Is that a threat? It's a promise. My son deserves better than you. He deserves this apartment and he'll get it. No, he won't. I have a prenup. I have proof of his affair. I have everything documented. He has no legal claim to anything. We'll see about that. I'll hire the best lawyer in the city. Go ahead. You'll still lose. She looked around the apartment, her eyes landing on the furniture, the paintings, the little touches that made it home. We'll take everything. Every stick of furniture. Every dish. Everything Brandon brought into this marriage. Brandon brought a suitcase of clothes and his computer. Everything else is mine. Bought and paid for before we married. Her face turned red. You planned this. You trapped my son. I protected myself. There's a difference. You're a gold digger. A manipulative little. Patricia. My voice was ice. Get out of my apartment. Now. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Get out or I'll call the police and have you removed for trespassing. She glared at me, fury radiating from every pore. Then she turned and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Nicole let out a breath. Well, she took that well. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all, the drama, the threats. It was almost funny. Are you okay? Nicole asked. I'm perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I was. For the first time in months I felt free. The locksmith arrived at 8 a.m. Saturday. By 9 all the locks were changed. New keys, new deadbolts, new security. Brandon's key no longer worked. Neither did Patricia's. Brandon showed up at 10 with his mother and Gerald. Nicole was already there, sitting on the couch with her laptop, looking official. I opened the door just wide enough to see them. You can come in one at a time. Just you, Brandon. Not them. Patricia tried to push forward. I'm his mother. I have every right to. You have no rights here. This is my property. You're here by my permission only and I'm not granting it. Gerald put a hand on Patricia's arm. Let Brandon handle this. She shook him off but stayed in the hallway. Brandon came in alone, avoiding my eyes. Your things are in boxes in the bedroom, I said. Take them and go. He walked to the bedroom without speaking. I heard him moving around, opening drawers, checking closets. Nicole kept working on her laptop, pretending to be busy but really just being my backup. Brandon emerged 20 minutes later with 2 suitcases and 3 boxes stacked on a dolly he'd brought from the car. That's everything? I asked. Most of it. I'll need to come back for a few more things. Make it quick. You have until the end of the month, then you're officially evicted. Can I at least have the TV? No. I bought the TV. Check the receipts if you don't believe me. His jaw tightened. You're really going to be like this? I'm going to be fair. You get what's yours. I keep what's mine. He left with his boxes, making 2 more trips before he was done. Patricia tried to come in each time and each time I blocked her. By noon he was finished. Anything else? I asked at the door. The divorce, he said. We could still stop it. We could work this out. No. Simone, please. I know I messed up, but we had something real. We had lies. That's all. I did love you. I do love you. I looked at him, this stranger I'd married. Maybe you did in your way, but it wasn't enough. And it's too late. He left. I closed the door and locked it with my new key. Nicole looked up from her laptop. How do you feel? Lighter. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Brandon tried to contest the prenup, claiming he'd signed under duress. Trevor shut that down with documentation showing Brandon had his own lawyer review it before signing. Brandon tried to claim he'd contributed to the apartment's value through renovations. Trevor provided receipts showing I'd paid for all improvements, including the new bathroom fixtures and kitchen appliances. Brandon tried to claim emotional distress. Trevor submitted the photos of him with Amber, along with credit card statements showing his expenditures on the affair. Every angle Brandon tried, Trevor blocked. Meanwhile, word of the affair spread at Brandon's workplace. Someone I never found out who sent the photos to HR. The company had a strict policy against workplace relationships, especially affairs. Brandon received a formal warning. Amber was transferred to a different department. Patricia called me repeatedly. I blocked her number. She showed up at the apartment twice more. I called the police both times. They escorted her away with warnings about harassment. She sent letters. Long, angry screeds about how I'd ruined her son's life, how I was a terrible person, how I'd pay for this. I forwarded them all to Trevor. He added them to the evidence file, documenting her harassment. One letter stood out. In it, Patricia admitted that she'd encouraged Brandon to pursue me because of my apartment. She wrote that she'd told him to secure his future by marrying well. She blamed me for not being more understanding of their family needs. Trevor was delighted. This is perfect. If she ever tries to claim Brandon had legitimate interest in the property, we have her own words admitting it was a scheme. Can we use this to get a restraining order? Possibly. Do you want one? I thought about it. Not yet. Let's see if she backs off once the divorce is final. The court date arrived in 6 weeks. Brandon showed up with a lawyer, a tired-looking man who clearly knew his client's case was weak. Patricia sat in the gallery, glaring at me. The judge reviewed the prenup, the evidence of the affair, the documentation of assets. The hearing took less than an hour. The prenuptial agreement is valid and binding, the judge ruled. All property owned by Mrs. Simone Walker before the marriage remains her sole property. All joint assets, totaling approximately $3,000, will be split equally. Mr. Brandon Walker has 30 days to vacate the premises. Divorce granted. The gavel came down. It was over. Brandon stood there looking stunned. Patricia started to stand, but Gerald pulled her back down. I walked out of the courtroom with Trevor and Nicole flanking me. I didn't look back. Outside, Nicole hugged me. You did it. We did it. Trevor grinned. Congratulations on your freedom. We went to lunch, the three of us celebrating. I ordered champagne and toasted to new beginnings. That evening, I went home to my apartment. My apartment. Truly, completely mine now. No Brandon. No Patricia. No lies. I walked through each room, seeing it with new eyes. This was my sanctuary. My achievement. My future. I poured myself a glass of wine and stood at the window, looking out at the city lights. 6 months ago, I'd been a newlywed, hopeful and naive. Now I was divorced, wiser and stronger. It had been painful, but it had been necessary. And I had won. The first thing I did was paint. I'd always wanted to paint the living room a soft sage green, but Brandon had insisted on keeping it neutral beige. Now I could choose. I spent a weekend painting, turning my living room into the space I'd always envisioned. Nicole helped, wearing overalls and getting paint in her hair. We listened to music, drank wine and laughed. This color is perfect, Nicole said, stepping back to admire our work. It makes me happy. That's all that matters. Next came the furniture. I'd always liked that cream couch, but it reminded me too much of Patricia sitting there, plotting. I sold it online and bought a new one, a beautiful piece in deep blue velvet that made me smile every time I looked at it. I rearranged the bedroom, moving the bed to catch the morning light. I bought new sheets, soft and luxurious. I hung new curtains, light and airy. Every change erased a little more of Brandon and Patricia's presence. Every change made the apartment more mine. I also started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I'd missed the signs. Why I'd been so ready to trust Brandon and his mother. My therapist, Dr. Angela Morrison, was a calm woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a direct manner. You weren't naive, she said during our third session. You were hopeful. There's a difference. I should have seen it. Perhaps. But people who are being manipulated often don't see it until it's too late. Manipulators are skilled at hiding their true intentions. I heard them talking. I heard their whole plan. And even then, part of me wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding. That's normal. We want to believe the best of people we love. I don't think I really loved him. I think I loved the idea of him. Dr. Morrison nodded. That's an important realization. We talked about boundaries, about trusting my instincts, about building a life that reflected my values. Each session I felt stronger. At work, things were going well. Margaret approved my promotion to senior project manager. It came with a raise and more responsibility. I threw myself into my projects, finding satisfaction in solving problems and leading teams. You seem different, my colleague Hannah said one day over coffee. Happier. I am. The divorce. I told a few people at work, keeping it brief and professional. Getting out of a bad situation tends to improve things. Well, you're glowing. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I smiled. I was doing exactly what I wanted finally. I started traveling. Short weekend trips at first. I went to the mountains, hiked trails I'd always wanted to explore. I went to the beach, spent hours reading and swimming. I went to the city, saw shows and visited museums. Each trip was a reminder that I was free. That I could go where I wanted, when I wanted, with no one to answer to. I also reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. Brandon hadn't forbidden me from seeing them, but he'd always had something else planned. Always had a reason why we couldn't make it to dinner or that concert or that party. Now I accepted every invitation. I went to gallery openings and book clubs and dinners. I rebuilt my social circle, surrounding myself with people who valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. One evening I ran into Brandon at a grocery store. He was in the produce section, looking tired and rumpled. When he saw me, he froze. Simone. Brandon. We stood there awkwardly, shoppers flowing around us. How have you been? He asked. Good. Really good. You look good. I was wearing a red dress, my hair newly cut and styled. I did look good and I knew it. Thank you. How are you? Fine. Working a lot. Trying to figure things out. I hope that works out for you. He looked like he wanted to say more, but I'd already turned away. I didn't owe him my time or attention. I checked out and left, not looking back. A month later, Nicole told me she'd seen Amber. She looked miserable. Apparently, Brandon broke up with her right after the divorce was final. Predictable. She tried to get her old position back, but the company wouldn't transfer her. She's stuck in a department she hates, doing work she finds boring. Karma has a sense of humor. Do you ever think about him? About what might have been different? I considered the question. Sometimes. But not with regret. More like curiosity. What if I hadn't overheard that conversation? What if I'd let them manipulate me? Where would I be now? Miserable. Exactly. So I'm grateful I found out when I did. 6 months after the divorce, I hosted a party in my apartment. I invited my real friends, my family, people who genuinely cared about me. We ate and drank and celebrated life. My mother came, hugging me tight. I'm so proud of you, baby. Thanks, Mom. You've built a beautiful life. I looked around at the laughter, the warmth, the joy filling my space. I have, haven't I? Thomas raised his glass. To Simone. The strongest woman I know. Everyone toasted. I felt tears prick my eyes, but they were happy tears. Later, standing on my balcony with Nicole, I looked out at the city. You did it, she said. You took back your life. We did it. I couldn't have done this without you and Trevor. But you're the one who had the courage to walk away. It didn't feel like courage at the time. It felt like survival. Sometimes they're the same thing. I thought about that. She was right. Sometimes survival required courage. And I'd found more of it than I'd known I possessed. A year after my divorce, I decided to start my own consulting business. I'd been thinking about it for months, and Margaret encouraged me to take the leap. You have the skills and the client base, she said. You'd be excellent at it. I worked with a business lawyer, filed the paperwork, and officially launched Simone Walker Consulting. My first client was a small tech company that needed help managing a complex project. I delivered results ahead of schedule and under budget. They referred me to 2 other companies. Within 6 months, I had more work than I could handle alone. I hired an assistant, a recent college graduate named Tasha who was smart and eager to learn. Together we built something real. Working from home, from my apartment, felt perfect. I converted the second bedroom into an office, painting it a cheerful yellow and filling it with plants. I loved walking from my bedroom to my office, making coffee in my kitchen, taking breaks on my balcony. This was the life I'd always wanted. On my terms. In my space. I also started dating again, though casually. Nothing serious. I met men through friends, through work events, through apps. Some were nice, some weren't. None of them made me want to rush into anything. Dr. Morrison and I talked about this in therapy. You seem content being alone, she observed. I am. I like my life. I'm not lonely. That's healthy. But don't close yourself off to possibilities. I'm not. I'm just being selective. Good. One evening at a networking event, I met someone interesting. His name was Julian, and he owned a small architecture firm. He was tall, with warm brown skin and an easy laugh. We talked about design, about building things that lasted, about creating spaces that felt like home. "I'd love to see your apartment sometime," he said. "You describe it so vividly. Maybe I'll show you. Someday." We exchanged numbers. Over the next few weeks we texted, met for coffee, went to a museum. He was kind, thoughtful, genuinely interested in my work and my life. "You're different from most people I meet," he said over dinner one evening. "Different how?" "You know who you are. You're not trying to be anyone else." It's refreshing. I didn't always know who I was. It took some hard lessons to figure it out. We all have those. The question is whether we learn from them. I like that about him. He didn't pry, didn't push. He respected my boundaries while still showing interest. After a few months, I invited him to see my apartment. He walked through slowly, taking in the colors, the art, the way everything fit together. "This is beautiful," he said. "It feels like you." "Thank you. It's taken a while to make it exactly right. The best things take time." We sat on my blue velvet couch, drinking wine, talking about our lives. I told him about my divorce, keeping it simple. He listened without judgment. "He sounds like he made a mistake," Julian said. "He made several. His loss." I smiled. "I used to think that was just something people say to make you feel better. But I actually believe it now. You should. You're remarkable." We took things slowly. I wasn't ready to rush into anything, and he respected that. We had dinner once a week, went to events together, spent time at each other's places. He never pushed for more than I was willing to give. Never made assumptions. Never tried to change me. It was easy. Comfortable. Real. Meanwhile, my business continued to grow. I landed a major contract with a Fortune 500 company, managing a year-long project worth 6 figures. It was challenging, exciting, exactly the kind of work I loved. Tasha proved to be invaluable, handling details I didn't have time for, learning quickly, contributing ideas that improved our processes. "You're really good at this," I told her one afternoon. "I learned from the best," she said. I hired 2 more people, both smart young professionals eager to build their careers. My little consulting firm was becoming something substantial. Nicole watched all this with pride. "Look at you, boss lady." "Don't call me that." "Why not? It's what you are." I'd never thought of myself that way. But she was right. I was building something, leading people, making decisions that mattered. One Saturday afternoon, I was at a cafe working on a proposal when I saw Patricia. She was with a group of women, clearly holding court, talking loudly about her son's success. Our eyes met across the cafe. She stiffened. I gave her a small nod and went back to my work. She left shortly after, her friends following. I didn't watch them go. Later, Nicole asked if it bothered me seeing her. "Not really. She's someone I used to know. Someone who tried to hurt me and failed. That's all." "You've really moved on." "I have. And it feels good." That evening, Julian took me to dinner at a rooftop restaurant. The city spread out below us, lights twinkling in the darkness. "I have something to tell you," he said. My stomach tightened. "Okay. I've been offered a project in London. 6 months, maybe longer." "That's amazing. Congratulations." "It is. But it means I'd be gone for a while." "I understand." He reached across the table and took my hand. "I'd like to see where this goes, Simone. With us. But I don't want to ask you to wait or to change your life. You've worked hard to build what you have." "I have. So I guess I'm asking, what do you want?" I thought about it. A year ago, I would have been terrified of this question. Now, I knew exactly what I wanted. "I want you to take the project. I want you to do amazing work in London. And when you come back, we'll figure out what comes next." "You're sure?" "I'm sure. I'm not going anywhere. My life is here, my business is here. But that doesn't mean we can't see what happens." He smiled. "You really are remarkable. So are you." We finished dinner, talking about his project, my business, the future. It felt easy, natural. No pressure, no demands. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company. This was what a healthy relationship looked like, I realized. Mutual respect. Clear communication. No manipulation. I'd learned what I wouldn't accept. And in doing so, I'd learned what I deserved. 1 year and 3 months after my divorce became final, I stood in my apartment preparing for a celebration. Not a party for clients or a networking event. This was personal. It was the anniversary of the day I'd bought the apartment. 5 years ago, I'd signed the papers and become a homeowner. It felt right to celebrate that achievement, to honor how far I'd come. Nicole arrived early, carrying champagne and flowers. For the woman of the hour. "It's just a regular day." "It's not. It's the day you made one of the best decisions of your life. Trevor came next with his wife and kids. Then my mother and Thomas with his family. Friends from work, from my consulting business, from my life before and after Brandon. Julian was there too, back from London for a visit. We'd stayed in touch while he was gone, talking regularly, missing each other but respecting each other's space. Seeing him again felt right. I'd hired a caterer, filled the apartment with food and drinks. Music played softly. People mingled, laughed, enjoyed themselves. My mother pulled me aside. "Look at you. Look at all this." "I'm happy, Mom. I can see that. You're glowing." I thought about where I'd been a year ago. Hurt, angry, betrayed. I thought about the journey to get here. The therapy, the hard work, the rebuilding. "I earned this happiness," I said. "You did, baby. You absolutely did." Thomas raised his glass. "I want to make a toast. To my sister, Simone. The strongest, smartest woman I know. You took a terrible situation and turned it into something beautiful. You didn't let anyone break you. You built a life worth living. I'm proud of you." Everyone raised their glasses. I felt tears in my eyes again, but good tears. "Thank you," I said. "Thank you all for being here, for supporting me, for believing in me. This apartment, this life, it's mine. And I'm never giving it up again." Later, as the party wound down, I stood on the balcony with Julian. The city lights sparkled below us. "This is a good life you've built," he said. "It is. Room for anyone else in it?" I looked at him. "Maybe. If they respect what I've built. If they add to it rather than take from it. That sounds fair. It's necessary." He kissed me softly. "I respect what you've built. And I'd like to be part of it if you'll have me. We'll see. Let's take it slow." "I can do slow." We stood there, comfortable in the silence, watching the city breathe. The next morning, I woke up alone in my bed. Julian had gone back to his hotel, respecting my space. I made coffee and sat on my balcony thinking about the past year. I'd lost a husband, but I'd gained myself. I'd lost a marriage, but I'd gained freedom. I'd lost the illusion of a perfect life, but I'd gained something real. My phone buzzed. A text from Tasha. "Client loved the proposal. They want to move forward." Another contract. Another success. My business was thriving. I texted back. "Excellent work. Let's schedule a meeting for Monday." Then another text, this one from Nicole. "Brunch this weekend? I have news." "Absolutely. Can't wait to hear." And finally, one from my mother. "So proud of you, sweetheart. Love you." "Love you too, Mom." I set down my phone and picked up my coffee, savoring the quiet morning. This was my life now. Peaceful, productive, mine. I'd built it from the ground up, protected it when it was threatened, and reclaimed it when it was stolen. This apartment, these walls, this space, it all represented more than property. It represented my strength, my resilience, my refusal to be diminished. Sometimes I wondered what Brandon was doing. If he'd learned anything from our marriage. If he regretted his choices. But those thoughts were fleeting, curiosity rather than longing. Patricia had tried to contact me a few times through mutual acquaintances. I'd politely declined any communication. She was part of my past and I had no interest in revisiting it. Amber, I'd heard, had left Brandon's company entirely. Found work elsewhere. I hoped she'd learned something too, though I doubted it. But their lives weren't my concern anymore. My concern was my own life, my own happiness, my own future. I finished my coffee and went inside, ready to start my day. I had work to do, a business to run, a life to live. And it was a beautiful life. One I'd fought for. One I'd earned. One that was completely, absolutely, gloriously mine. The apartment that had almost been stolen from me had become the foundation of my new beginning. Not just a place to live, but a symbol of everything I'd overcome. I looked around at the sage green walls, the blue velvet couch, the yellow office filled with thriving plants. I saw my grandmother's china in the cabinet, displayed proudly. I saw photos of people I loved, memories of adventures I'd taken, evidence of a life well lived. This was what victory looked like. Not dramatic, not flashy. Just quiet contentment. Just peace. Just home. I'd started this journey thinking I needed to protect my property. I'd ended it realizing I needed to protect myself. And in doing so, I'd found something far more valuable than real estate. I'd found my worth, my voice, my power. And no one would ever take that from me again. I smiled, grabbed my laptop and got to work. Another day, another opportunity, another step forward. The past was behind me. The future spread out ahead, full of possibility. And I was ready for all of it.